People ask me why magnesium is my favorite mineral, and it's my favorite mineral for a number of reasons. Most people are deficient. What's going to happen when you take supplemental magnesium is that your cortisol is going to drop. That's going to make you a happier person, less anxious. I've had people with full-on anxiety manage it completely with magnesium only. I take magnesium every night because being a guy in my 40s, my sleep can use some help. And we have sleep research with magnesium helps with sleep quality. So this is one that I have in my shelf, and this is another one that I have in my shelf. And DRI for a guy is about 400 milligrams. I recommend men and women to do at least 500 milligrams a day. There's other sources and there's other forms which are good. Those are just two of my favorites. But I believe everybody is going to benefit from taking magnesium with their sleep, with their energy, and definitely for heart health as well. Another supplement that I take every day is vitamin C. Vitamin C is amazing. It's an antitoxin, anti-aging, really supports your immune system. What more can you ask from one vitamin? Now, vitamin C is so important that most animals make their own. They synthesize their own in their body, and they synthesize thousands of milligrams, not hundreds of milligrams. So myself, I take about 5,000 milligrams a day. The reason why I have this one in my hand here is because this is the only one in the store, as far as I know, that is not made in China. Not that I have anything against China personally, but the vitamin C that they're making is likely to be made with GMO corn. And this stuff here is actually made in Scotland from European grown food, right? Probably grains. All you need to make vitamin C is a source of glucose, so it could be hydrolyzed grains or whatever. So as a bare minimum, I recommend people take 2,000 milligrams a day. Now, magnesium lowers cortisol as a supplement. We know with human research that vitamin C, if you go past 1,000 milligrams, that lowers cortisol. So like I say, personally I do 5,000. I think 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day is good for connective tissue strength. If you're working out, that's important. And also for immune function and anti-toxicity. So you know, fats in the diet is a very important topic, and there's a lot of misinformation. Where does this misinformation come from? Is it the dietitians of Canada are wrong or dumb? It's not. They're very smart, but the thing is that we have economic reasons for the information that we're given. One thing that we're told all the time is that canola oil is good for you, and vegetable oils are good for you, and you should have polyunsaturated fats. In fact, those things are making us fat and they're making us sick. Okay, so vegetable oils are best used for, you know, your diesel engine in your car. Don't put them in your body. If you want to cook, the best oils that you could cook with would be coconut or butter. Saturated fats are important for human nutrition. They're not the problem. The problem with most people is that they have too much insulin. So that's going to give them fat bodies and heart disease. So in order to have less insulin, what we need to do is eat more fat. So what kind of fats are good to eat would be, as I was mentioning before, like coconut oil. Coconut oil is wonderful. Any brand you want to get is fine. Even if it was refined, it wouldn't be a problem because coconut oil is stable. So you can fry it, you can cook with it, it's totally fine. Butter is also a great oil to cook with. This is a brand that I like a lot, is Orfei coconut oil. It tastes quite coconutty. So some people say to me, well, okay, I get it that coconut oil is good for you, but I don't want my food to taste like coconut. So what you could do in that case is you could use something like an MCT oil. So an MCT oil is less flavorful, and you can just try different brands. There are a couple of brands that have more flavor and some that have less flavor, but if you really hate coconut, then go for ghee or palm oil, or what else could you use for frying? That would be about it actually. So frying with something like grapeseed or olive is not a good idea. Grapeseed is one of the worst ones to fry with. Here's another interesting oil, is macadamia nut oil. And this one tastes totally delicious. So macadamia nut oil is okay to cook with, but it could also be used for a salad. And olive oil is super healthy, but I would not cook with olive oil because it's not the most stable of fats. So it's something that you could put on your food after it's cooked. So do we need a low-fat diet? No, we don't, because America is eating less and less dietary fat, and America is getting fatter and fatter. So if you want a research study done with over 300 million people, you don't have to look any further than the United States the past 40 years. So low fat is really barking up the wrong tree. Eat more fat, eat slightly less carbs, and you'll have less insulin in your body, which will be a leaner body and definitely less chance of heart disease. I want to talk about two healthy proteins that I like a lot. One is organic beef. So I got two brands of organic beef here. This one is actually grass-fed, so grass-fed beef is nutritionally superior. But any beef that's organic is going to be okay by my book. So why people are against red meat? Well, red meat is a source of cholesterol, and it is a source of saturated fat. Both are things which we don't have to fear. What we have to fear in our diet is excessive carbs, and especially sugars. So red meat gets a bad rap, but it's actually one of the more nutritious sources of protein that we have. And it's a great source of iron and zinc, which are two minerals that are quite low, especially in vegetarians. And most women could definitely use more iron in their diet. Another really good protein is nuts and seeds. Here we see some nut butters, even something like an organic peanut butter. There's also like an almond butter. So a lot of people shy away from nuts and seeds because they're like, oh my God, nuts and seeds are full of fat. I don't want to eat something that's so fatty. Well, you know what? All the research we have, human research, with people eating more nuts and seeds, they happen to be leaner. Now, there's all kinds of conjecture as to why that is, but we know that that relationship is there. The Boston Nurses Health Study and many other studies besides have found that when people eat more nuts and seeds, they're leaner. And they're massively protective for heart health. They contain a lot of plant sterols, which are really great for your fat metabolism. So if you like nuts and seeds, go nuts on them, and you'll probably lose fat from doing so. I want to talk about cereals. Here I've got one in my hand. By the way, I'm going to start by saying this. Most cereals suck. But anyway, I got this one in my hand. This one is gluten-free. It's made in Italy. It's 80% whole grains. And it sucks too. Why does cereal suck? Because it comes out of a gun. I can show anyone research that wants to email me from the Cereal Chemists Association. Cereal comes out of a gun at hundreds of pounds per square inch of pressure, hundreds of degrees Celsius. It makes new polymers that don't exist in nature. When we feed rats organic cornflakes or whole grain puffs, they die. Now the reason why we can eat cereal and we don't die is because the rest of the day you're eating normal food. But I would never recommend any kind of cereal, whether it's whole grain, organic, or whatever it is, Fruit Loops, like any kind of cereal, they all suck. The only cereal that I could recommend as a nutritionist who knows a little thing about food is a cereal that you have to cook. If you have to cook it, then it's a healthy cereal. Otherwise, stay away, regardless of any label claims. So looking at breads have been bashed by various people since the 50s, if not earlier. I do think that a whole grain bread has a rightful place in a healthy diet, depending on the person. If there's any kind of gut issues, IBS, IBD, or just your gut isn't working that well, then I would take grains and especially gluten out of the diet. And gluten has a lot of hype around it as well lately. I think that some people can tolerate gluten and some people can't. So try a few days with no gluten whatsoever and see how you're doing. But I must warn you, there's some gluten-free breads, which Udi's is one, and this is another one. Actually, most gluten-free breads are using some kind of gums to hold them together, like a xanthan gum, and there's other gums that are used. So these are natural gums, but they can be much more harmful to the gut and more irritating to the gut than even gluten. I had a client who's went from gluten to gluten-free and her gut got much worse. And then when she got off the gluten-free breads and things like that, then she became a lot better. So careful about that. There are some things like a brown rice loaf. This one doesn't have any strange gums in it. So just read that there's no carrageenan or guar gum or xanthan gum. And definitely stay away from rice cakes as well, because rice cakes, if you remember me talking about cereal comes out of a gun. Rice cakes come out of a gun too, which creates new toxic polymers. So never have rice cakes. But you know, like I say, a little bit of whole grain bread, and anything that isn't wheat is better than wheat. So kamut is less allergenic than wheat. Rye is less allergenic. Spelt is less allergenic. So when I do have bread, then I go with a wheat-free and go with the other ones, even if they have gluten, and I have it occasionally. I find that my stomach is fine with that. But if I have gluten all the time, then it's more of an issue. So there's some individual experimentation that has to happen with that. Another really great gluten-free food that's very easy is, cooked brown rice. If you're tired of rice, you can cook buckwheat in the same way as brown rice. You could cook a millet in the same way as brown rice, or quinoa, which now the prices are going through the roof because everybody wants quinoa and there's only so much quinoa to go around. So buckwheat is much cheaper and it's very nice with a little bit of thyme. Or millet is super cheap and pretty healthy too, although it does contain a little bit of gluten.